Hi, Elena. Yes, I've just started recording the webinar. Hello, everyone. Yeah, we can get started now. Just popping in the chat there that if there are any questions, please post it in the meeting chat and we'll get through it in the Q&A later. Over to you, Elena.
Brilliant. So thank you everyone for joining us. This is Elena Baeva from 365 Talent Portal. This webinar will be focused on LinkedIn for Microsoft partners and consultants. And we've invited Rick McCutcheon as our speaker today. Many of you might already be connected to Rick. He's an MVP and probably one of the most influential people I know on LinkedIn. So Rick is a veteran in the Microsoft Dynamics customer engagement space. He's also an expert in social selling. So he will share with us today his best practices of building personal brand, but also helping companies use successfully LinkedIn, again, for marketing and or purposes and generating opportunities. So before we start, I'd like to briefly introduce 365 Talent Portal. I'll pass over to Rick afterwards. So as Nora mentioned earlier, if you have any questions during the presentations, please pop them in the message window and we'll have about 15 minutes at the end to go through them. So 365 Talent Portal, many of you might be already members. If not, please register with us. We provide a recruitment and training platform and service for Microsoft Dynamics consultants, partners, and end users. We have over 8,000 professionals, Dynamics professionals, vetted professionals registered with us in over 134 countries around the world. And we work with over 900 companies, partners, and end users, again, all over internationally. So how do we add value to consultants? We attract new and existing Microsoft Dynamics professionals, and we not only give them access to jobs, but we give them access to online learning, which is highly valuable, and especially for new professionals coming to the Dynamics field, staying, and for the existing ones, staying up to date could be quite challenging. There's so many portals, so much information out there. So we provide a prism and a very simple navigation of where to go in terms of learning. We've created different learning paths with step-by-step guides that will take you exactly to the right place, and MS Learn or Dynamics Learning Portal to help you reach your certification or the exams you need to pass. Again, we actually provide free of charge access to Dynamics Learning platform for any consultants. So again, very valuable resource. We also publish a number of guides for consultants, partners, and end users. We share a lot of information about the dynamic space, the best practices in recruitment, as well as training and information about the latest solutions and exam information. So you can all find it there for free. And for any organizations, again, we help in two aspects with hiring and training. So with any companies that is looking for Dynamics talent, we give them access to an online platform where they can advertise their jobs, but also search directly in a gated environment where they only access Dynamics pool of consultants and no external recruiters in there. And they could contact them directly, reach out for any freelance or permanent opportunities on-site and remote, and do it at a very cost-effective way, significantly cheaper than using traditional recruiters. So if you're interested, reach out to us afterwards or register. And on the training side, we've been providing training in terms of content and trainers to Microsoft Corp for many years now, but also we work with lots of learning partners. So we recently started offering training directly to partners and end users, customized to their own needs. So if you have any requirements for your own team in terms of any of the dynamic solutions and in different tracks, whether it's functional, sales, pre-sales, or technical, we could build training programs, customized program for you, and could deliver it either in your office or could deliver it virtually with highly skilled trainers. So this is it from me, very brief introduction. If you haven't registered, once again, feel free to register with us at 365talentportal.com. We have different logins and registrations depending on whether you're a partner, end user, consultant, or student and graduate. This is it from me. So I'd like to once again introduce Rick. And Rick, I'll stop sharing my screen and pass over to you.
Thanks, Elena. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can, yeah.
Great. Let me just get this up here and we'll get rolling. So do you see a slide that says about Rick McCutcheon on it?
Not just yet.
Okay, we'll keep trying here. That should do it.
Nothing yet, Rick. Oh, there, something's coming up. Yes.
Okay, great. Good afternoon, good morning, everybody, depending on where you are. Thank you, Elena, for having me today to talk about one of my favorite subjects, LinkedIn. So a lot of people on the call today probably have seen me on LinkedIn. I've got about 26,000 followers, mostly in our Dynamics ecosystem. So I'll be talking a lot today about what we're doing with the ecosystem and why I do this on LinkedIn. So my background, I'm a Dynamics 365 CE/CRM MVP, been in the space for over 20 years, do a lot of, I guess I'm a leading strategist, speaker and writer on CRM and social selling. Today, my practice has changed quite a bit. I spend most of my time as a coach with Microsoft partners and ISVs. So partners that are looking to start Dynamics practices, as well as ISVs coming into the space. So you're going to see when I start talking about the posts I do and how I do them, lots of neat things that I can put out there. So I do a lot of educational sessions for Microsoft, for Dynamic Communities, which is all the user groups, the NAV, the CRM, the AX people, CRM Evolution, Extreme 365, Course Talent Portal, and a couple of the bottom ones, Innovation Factory and Spark Center, are a couple of regional innovation centers. I'm in Toronto, Canada, and those are incubators that I spend some time with, mentoring and accelerating early stage startup companies, which is really interesting because I kind of bring the old school sales process into play, and I'm learning a lot about, you know, what to do and how to use social media to really impact marketing. So my company is, you know, about full contact selling, and my B2B strategies around building multi-channel engagement programs and influence for your business ecosystem. And for today's call, you know, most of the people on this call are really going to be all about what that Microsoft ecosystem looks like, and we'll talk more about that in a moment. But the word business ecosystem kind of sums it up. And here's a quote from Rosabeth Moss Kanter from Harvard. Ecosystem conveys the idea that all the pieces of an economy come together in particular places, and that their strength and interactions determine prosperity and economic growth. Think of this as your garden where you need fertile soil, seeds, and other ingredients to make things grow. So what does that mean in our Microsoft world? Well, it's going to mean different things to different people. Myself being an independent MVP, I work on contracts for various people. If you're a consultant, you may go into a longer term contract. If you're an SI partner, you're looking for continuous contracts. If you're an ISV partner, you're looking to sell into an existing ecosystem of Dynamics companies. And, you know, if you're trying to influence Microsoft employees, or you're a Microsoft employee, you're kind of doing a reverse on that ecosystem. So these are the people in our Microsoft ecosystem: our customers, our prospects, our SI partners, ISV partners, and Microsoft employees. And in my case, I'm a D365 guy, so, you know, very specific to those groups, and that's my business ecosystem. So I'm trying to really go out and understand how I can take what I know and teach people and help them grow their Dynamics businesses, but really influence them. So that's my case, being an educator and consultant. But if you're a contractor and you're looking for better contracts, you want to be able to show people what you know. Again, if you're an ISV, you want to educate them on your products, and SI, you want to educate them on their talents. I did some sessions with the actual team at LinkedIn who were doing the LinkedIn Dynamics product, and they call the person who sells with LinkedIn a modern seller. And I kind of like that term. It kind of gets away from what we call a social seller and breaks it into sort of a different world. Now, I end up working with, some end user customers, and a lot of, in my LinkedIn workshops, they'll come, and these people that, have been doing strategic selling, consultative selling, those sort of things for years, are concerned that, people with social selling saying, what they do is dead. What they do is not dead. What social selling does is allow us to create a net out there on the web through properties like LinkedIn to be able to sort of make people aware of what we do. And I'm going to kind of move through that in today's session. So, the first thing about a modern seller, they need to understand digital transformation. Whether you're a consultant, whether you're a partner, whether you're a seller, in our Microsoft world, we use this term digital transformation, and that's what it's about now. We're no longer selling sort of a feature set of products. We're not selling kind of the benefits of that product. And those are all important, that we have good features and that we understand the benefits. But our customers, our prospects, their business is changing. They're going through a digital transformation, and that's why they need us. So for us on LinkedIn, we want to make sure that our audience, and I'm going to show you how to build that audience, really understands that we understand digital transformation and we can help them. So number two, you need to know how to articulate solutions that deliver a strong ROI for your customer, again, around digital transformation. They need to see you as experts and collaborators in their community. So this becomes interesting, because when you start to figure out who your ecosystem is, you may, be in Toronto like I am and be a regional SI or a consultant, then your world is really what we call the GTA of Toronto, the Greater Toronto Area. That's your community. That's where you want to sort of collaborate, and that's where you want to, get through to people. On the other side, you want to understand the social impacts of business, right? So you want to become a collaborator in the community and understand how this all impacts business. 4, they see you as a high value supplier, or a person that they can trust and that they're going to go to and ask the questions, understand what you do and how you do it, and you become very important to their business. So let's talk about that buying process, how it's changed. We're going to quickly go through this, and then we'll jump into some LinkedIn. So this is what's driving social change in business. Overall, is not how we so much want to service our customers and prospects, it's how they want to interact with us. So these are some different studies that show the importance of social on the way we do business. The first study was CEB, said that 57%, the customer is 57% through their buying journey before they need to reach out to us. The next one was Gardner Group, that says there are now 7 people in each B2B buying decision. IDC says 75% of B2B buyers now use social media to research vendors. The Harvard Business Review says 90% of decision makers will never respond to a cold call. And Corporate Vision says 74% of buyers choose the first rep that they can see adds value. Now, what has changed the most in this really is the 57% through the buying journey before they have to talk to us, or have a communication with us. And I think the third one, 75% of buyers now use social media to research their vendors. So let's drill into this one report that was done by Digital Evolution and the Corporate Executive Board, that said that the average buyer was 57% through the journey. I just want to point out that this study was done back in 2012, right? It was done quite a while ago. So if we look 7 years forward, we're probably somewhere into 70, 80% through that buying journey before they reach out to us. So when I'm doing a session like this for corporations or for SI partners or ISVs, that's what the focus is. How do people find us? How do they understand what we do? How do we position ourselves? All those types of things. Today, we're going to talk about how do we do that on LinkedIn and why it's important to do it on LinkedIn. Because the buying process is really about finding us digitally, whether it's through Google, whether it's through Bing, and then dropping into our social media to find out who we are and what we do. So from a corporate side of things, this becomes extremely important, right? What do they see on your website, LinkedIn, on your reviews, on your YouTube page, on your Facebook for Business, on Twitter, and all these different areas. So for a corporation, it becomes very, very important. For an individual consultant or an individual professional, what we're going to focus on today, I think the most important place for us is to go to LinkedIn. And what G2 says is very important. For those who don't know G2, they are a website where people can go for software reviews. What is the most influential in your purchase decision process, right? The number one thing is professional colleagues in your professional network. Number two, what industry experts say. Number three, online reviews and peers, what internal influencer says. So it's really about engagement on the web with you, with your company, and with your education. So let's see how we're going to turn this into a LinkedIn session. And the last thing I'll talk about is, when we talk about executives are now in the showing 80% of C-suite members now use social media to inform about their buying decision. So they're way down the line, and what they see and what they hear and how they talk to us become very important. So in my sales training programs that I do for partners, we talk about influence. We talk about how to use CRM internally to build business development models. We also talk about how to use CRM to build account management models. All become very important, but remember, the front end of this is all about influence and getting people to understand exactly what you do. So that brings us into the world of LinkedIn. LinkedIn is really a great product. And the greatest thing about it is it's free for the most part. And everything I'm going to show you today, you can do through the free version of LinkedIn. Now, from a LinkedIn perspective, I use Sales Navigator so I can connect to pretty much an unlimited amount of contacts. If you have the free version, they limit the amount of contacts you're able to connect to per month. So depending on how you're trying to build out your LinkedIn network, you may want to go to a paid version. But today I'm going to keep it simple, since we have a short time today, to talk about how to build your profile, right, and how to influence. Because the way I looked at it is, we got to identify our ecosystem, understand who they are. We have to connect to them, right? We have to influence them, and then we have to engage with them. And if you do a really good job of that, it will bring you in a lot more business. This I'll guarantee you. In fact, I was doing a sales training program a couple of weeks ago, and one of the reps said to me, "Rick, how much time do I have to spend on LinkedIn?" Well, it becomes strategic when you spend that time. What you do, it's all important. But really, it's probably the best prospecting medium on earth for B2B sales. So we want to see your profile as an expert, understand and grow your business ecosystem, connect with decision makers and influencers, educate and influence your ecosystem. You want to work on warm referrals and intros. You want to close more consistent business, and you want to make it so the next prospect finds you, right? And this is what we do on LinkedIn. So this is more of a North American slide, so sorry for those in other parts of the world, but you want to influence with LinkedIn. That's the way I look at it. We don't want to sell hard. We don't want to, pursue people. We want to influence the marketplace. So I say you got to be three things on your profile. You got to be a trusted advisor, and I have Oprah Winfrey here, who is a talk show host, but she's a trusted advisor to millions of people in North America. We got Mike Babcock, who was the coach of my old hockey team, Detroit Red Wings, and that's the Stanley Cup Hockey Championship he won. So you want to be seen as a coach. And this is a very early picture of rock star Bruce Springsteen. So we want to be able to build a profile that looks safe, that's helpful, and we want to be able to work with people. So how we're perceived on LinkedIn is very, very important. And this is a slide that LinkedIn selling people use. Which Erica would you buy from, right? So if we land on somebody's profile and there's nothing there, or that profile doesn't exist, what do I think of that person? I probably have less trust of that person. I hear it when I do this in a classroom. I hear comments like, well, maybe this person must be lazy. Maybe this person must be unaware, all those types of things. When I'm hiring salespeople, and I end up a lot of times in my coaching practice helping hire salespeople, I don't even look at the resume anymore. I just go right to their LinkedIn profile to see what are they doing in the community, what do they understand, how are they working on, how are they communicating, and who are they connected with that I know, right? So I can go out and talk to other people and say, hey, does Erica know how to sell Dynamics, D365? So let's keep kind of working through there, and we'll also talk about influencing with groups today, and we'll talk about influencing with posts. So I'm going to flip over to my LinkedIn profile. Okay, so hopefully you're seeing my LinkedIn profile now.
Yes, we can. Yeah.
If not, please let me know. So I try to make the LinkedIn profile look as friendly as possible, right? So I'm going to come here, I haven't updated. So when you land on your LinkedIn page, you're going to come to the profile. When someone sees you for the first time, they see this profile. So want to make sure that you have the background picture, something that's relevant to you. You want to make sure that your photograph, people can identify it's you. And a lot of people link into me after they see a workshop. So they usually see my process flows and able to see that. As well, we want to make sure our tagline, explains who we are. So I'm a Dynamics 365 CE, CRM MVP, and social selling expert. That gets a lot of search engine, and especially on the Bing side of things. I come up very high on Bing because of this profile. Couple of things. So when people land on my profile, I want to make sure they understand who I am and what I'm doing. If they're looking for help with Salesforce.com, I don't want them to go any farther. They're going to look at me and say, this is not the person we want to work with, and off they go, right? I want it very specific so people know what I do and how I do it. So here's a little thing about me, and also I've got a connection to my Partner Talks YouTube page. Now I'll just go off to that 1 second. So I've got this Partner Talk YouTube page we're developing where I interview the industry influencers in Dynamics, and we're starting to add them out to YouTube. And I'll come back and talk about that a little later. So I want people to go through here and start saying, this is a very credible guy. So as they go through, you'll see that 2,300 people have viewed my profile, over 100 post views, and this is should be in the last day or so. As we kind of walk through too, I've got activities and articles. So I've created articles. So you want to be able to put up content, presentations, any articles. You want to make sure you stay active on LinkedIn, and we'll get into activities in a second here. So you want to make sure that as people look at your profile, they start to say, wow, this person must really know what they're doing. So if I click through on that, you're going to see I have I put this up last July. Building a CRM culture is essential. Now I have this ties back to my website blog, and this is probably something I should spend more time doing, writing more articles and getting it up there. So we'll talk about posting and how I influence it in a little bit. You can see all my activities, right? So you can click on see all my activities. And And in my activities, you're going to see all my posts, what I'm posting and what I'm talking about. So we're going to come back to all that in a few minutes. So as you're reading down my profile, friendly photo, clear that they can tell this is the Rick guy I met. And then we get down and we start talking about our experience. So we want to kind of build out our experience and build out our credibility. This is kind of our working resume. Now, in my case, the number one thing I do in our community that gives me a lot of credibility is I'm chair of the Canadian Dynamics 365 community group, right? So I put that up front there. It's been since 2011, so people can click through and find out about our community group there. I'm also president of my company called Full Contact Selling. Have been doing that since 2019, 18 years and 11 months, so I must be doing something right. And then we come down a little farther and we've got Business Mentor, Business Mentor, and Business Mentor. So these are 3 technology centers that I a business mentor at. So I know a lot of people are saying, well, I don't have that much experience. Well, you've got to get going and you've got to just take advantage of the experience you've got and get it up there. And maybe there's more things that you have to do, like become a volunteer for the community, help run a D365 Saturday, get on some committees, get out there and meet with some of the real movers and shakers in our Dynamics 365 community. I went to George Brown College, and you can click through and see what that is. I'm also a licensed and certified sales professional with distinction, and that's through the Canadian Professional Sales Association. There's about 5,000 certified sales professionals in Canada. With distinction means I came in at the top 10% of the certification group. There's a big background on that as well that I don't have a lot of information here, but I was actually vice chair when we put that program together back in 1998, a long time ago. So as we go through here, I've also got lots of endorsements. So this is something that you can add a skill, add an endorsement, get people to endorse you. At one time within LinkedIn, this used to come at the top of the page. So as soon as you landed on Rick's profile, you would see that, does Rick know about Microsoft CRM? Does Rick know about sales process? Does Rick know about digital transformation? And people were saying yes, yes, yes. And that's where this kind of grew up. But I think more importantly down here, we want to start getting recommendations. So recommendations at the bottom means people that actually recommend your work. So I've got 32 people that have recommended my work over the years, and some very prestigious people like Gustav in Sweden, who's one of the top MVPs in Europe. Vince is CEO of his company. Katie's the founder. This is another company founder. So a lot of people I've worked with have said good things, but I also give out a lot of recommendations as well, right? So I go to people that I work with that I trust and I recommend their work. So what I'm saying here is this is more of a conscious thing that I'm doing, trying to get my profile to look better. So when people see it, they understand what I do and they see that, hey, this guy might be near the top of his game. I can, trust what he does. So this goes back and, to the fact that, I've been in this a long time. I've done a lot of things. I'm connected to a lot of people. So you really want to build up your credibility with your profile. So the next thing we want to do is start talking about, okay, I built this profile. Now I want to go in and I want to start posting, right? So let's go and look at my posts. So for those not familiar with LinkedIn, it's very similar to Facebook, where I can go out and I can create a series of posts, and those series of posts really will go out to a number of the people in my first line connections. Okay, it won't go out to everybody, and LinkedIn doesn't say it doesn't go out to everybody, but we can tell it doesn't go out to everybody. But if a post starts to do well, then they keep showing it to more and more people. So being able to post is really important to me on what I'm able to do and how I'm able to influence the people I have connected to. So you'll see here I've got my followers, 26,000. So people said, Rick, how did you get 26,000 connections on LinkedIn? Well, I've really kind of focused on this about 10 years ago to say, you know, I want to go out and I want to build up my LinkedIn network, and this is going to be my main sort of social media platform. So just finding a lot of people, speaking at a lot of conferences, and spending time on LinkedIn, looking for those right connections. So let's go back, and I'm going to show you some posts that I did, and we'll do that from the we'll do it from the slide deck, that because it makes it a little bit easier to do that. Here's the post that I did for this event, and you'll see here at the bottom it got 2,643 views in a week. Now, at one time, I think I would have probably got about 4,000 views for this, but it seems that LinkedIn has kind of pulled back on the algorithm a little bit over the last, I'll say 18 months or so, and they really want us to be able to go out and purchase ads. So if you're looking to purchase ads, you could probably, you know, get this up, show it to a lot more people. But for my purposes and what I do, I'm pretty happy with the community that I've built out. Maybe in the future, I'll start to look at, you know, how I can build this out for more people. So in this post I wrote, if you're a Microsoft business professional looking to get the most out of your LinkedIn profile, then check out our webinar. I will be facilitating with my friends at 365 Talent Portal. We will cover how to effectively build your profile, connect with your ecosystem, and create effective posts. To register, please go. So for those you see here, I've used a bit.ly URL so I can tell how many people actually click through, going over to the Elena's site for the session. I've also taken 365 Talent Portals and I've connected them to this posting, so they'll see that I've done it. I've also tagged it for Microsoft Partners, for MVP Buzz, and for social selling. So if anybody's sort of following these hashtags on LinkedIn, they're going to see what I'm up to. So you know what, for a simple post, this was pretty good. So I'm going to talk a little bit about how often I post and kind of my posting strategy. I try to make sure I post something every day. LinkedIn likes the fact that you post every day. LinkedIn also likes the fact that you don't just post, that you go in and like and share other people's posts. So they want to see some kind of engagement come out of this. So you're going to see, as I take you through this series of posts, different type of engagement that I've built on. I can also share this with my Twitter. So for those who follow me on Twitter, I might have a couple thousand Twitter followers and 26,000 LinkedIn followers. So I don't do as much Twitter. I kind of focus on LinkedIn. So for those who do pick me up on Twitter, I push everything out. So as I do a post, I share it on Twitter as well. And at the end of this, I'll actually do a post and show you sort of my thought process and strategy. So here's another thing when I'm posting. I try not to make me the most important person in the post. We'll see a lot of sort of consultants and speakers and trainers keep putting themselves in all the posts, and the posts become about them. I don't think you get the most out of it that way. I think people, you know, see you so many times and say, oh, there's that Rick McCutcheon guy again with his picture on LinkedIn. So I try to make sure that I'm not the star of the show. I'm just helping that person become the star of the show. So as I said earlier, I do a lot of work with ISVs. One of the ISVs I do work with is Resco. They're the #1 mobile platform for Dynamics. They don't not only power the field service application, they have, you know, Resco routes, Resco inspections, a bunch of products that are sort of standalone Resco sales that work on a mobile platform. So here's a picture when I was 1 week ago. I was in Rome at their conference. Actually, probably now 8-9 days ago, I was in Rome. And this is a shot that actually the photographer took. So he was standing behind this gentleman when he was given his smartwatch. So Resco did a really smart thing. They gave everybody who came into their mobility conference a smartwatch loaded with the day's agenda. So, 250 people file in, they all got a smartwatch. So it was kind of a real exciting thing. So I asked the photographer, can I have a couple of your shots? And he gave them to me. And so I put them in this little collage on LinkedIn, and I got 10,000 views. 10,000 views is really, really good. And out of that, we got 114 people engaged with it and 1 reshare. So if you click on your views, this is the little report LinkedIn gave to me. So 447 people from Microsoft saw this, 586 people with salespeople who were in a sales position. And that's a big part of my LinkedIn because I did Salesforce automation for a long time. And because I'm in Toronto, it shows it to a lot of people in Toronto. But Zurich, Central Europe, was the next one they showed it to. So as you can start to see that the people who are viewing this are really kind of all over the world. So your influence becomes a lot to do with the subject, where you're located, that type of thing. So we'll get into more of it. So this is me helping one of my ISVs promote their conference. Does it help me? Yes, because I get to ride along with these 10,000 views, but I think it helps my friends at Resco even more. You'll see that I do a lot of videos, or we're getting into video now, and this is what I call my partner talks, right? And this is with Ben Vollmer. And Ben is Microsoft's Global Dynamics 365 Field Service Director. Very influential guy in our world, so I managed to interview him. And this is just prior to us going into the user group sessions that were in Orlando, in the Resco sessions in Rome, and now Ben, I believe, is at the Inspire sessions in Florida this week. So I interviewed him about what was new in field service and all the shows that they had coming up. So this got 2,639 views. Well, so what is it doing? Well, it's getting Ben out there. Ben's an important guy. And it's also, when I do a session and when I promote somebody from Microsoft, I probably get more Microsoft people liking and viewing and sharing this, right? So I get more influence and more of those people connecting. You'll also see that he deals a lot with the bigger partners, and a lot of the bigger partners are the ones that like this. So I'm influencing, I'm talking to people about what they do, how they do it, and then we're publicizing it out to the crowd. A couple of other ways of doing this is people presenting. And the reason I'm showing you all this is because, you may not do a video and get Ben Vollmer in it, but we're all in presentations all the time. So whenever I go to a presentation, I make sure I just take out my iPhone and I take 4 or 5 pictures of the presenter if I feel it was a good presentation, and then I write it up and I post it. So here's one we did about a month ago, and Anne Barkley from Microsoft Canada. This was an event we called Collaborate Canada. It was part of the D365 user communities and presented for us in Toronto and in Ottawa. And this is at the end of her presentation. She looked over and I took a picture, and 5,000 people viewed it. Lots of likes, lots of comments. It got some really good exposure. And, I think Anne felt good about it. She says, wow, I've never had a post with 5,000 people who, viewed it, 70 people who liked it, all that type of thing. And if we go back to our Resco conference 10 days ago, this is Ivan Stano, who's the chief evangelist for Resco, talking about their inspections platform. So he's out there and he got 3,568 views. So I look for opportunities. So let's kind of recap on this, right? So I'm at a conference, I see something cool happen, I take a picture. I do videos, and these are simple videos to do. They're not high production. So if you go and look at my Partner Talks channel, you're going to see that these are low production videos that we're doing here. And then when I'm at conferences, when I'm at presentation, I'm helping promote people who are speaking there and what they're doing. So sometimes it's about me too, right? So I try when I'm teaching a class, or I get a lot of times asked to go in and be that interviewer at panels. So over the last month and a half, I did 3 of these. So this is the first one is me on stage at the Resco conference in Rome, interviewing some of Resco's customers about their project. The middle one was the user group community, and I'm interviewing some of ClickLearn's customers. So ClickLearn's another ISV that I work with, a tremendous ISV. They build these they have a set of AI tools that help you build out your learning materials for Dynamics D365 deployments. So I'm interviewing some of their customers. And then the last one here was Extreme 365 in Orlando, where I have an ISV panel where I have some of the top ISVs from Neosystems, ClickLearn, ClickDimensions, Resco, and as well, we had Microsoft on that panel talking about the ISV program and how they work as ISVs. I thought it was an excellent session. We had some excellent guests. All of these, you know, this one did 1,600, this one did 5,400, this one did 3,000. So it becomes interesting when we do this, because sometimes it hits the algorithm, it does really well. Sometimes it hits the algorithm and does okay. Like 1,600 is okay, 3,000 is good, over 5,000 is great. So you'll see as I go up there, I'm starting to tag people. So in this session here, I tag the people, but I think they have a much smaller social following than these people. These people are all leaders in our Dynamics 365 customer community, have fairly large social media followings. So when I interviewed them and tagged them, I think we got a bit of a boost from being carried on their social media. And as well here, I not only got, you know, I tagged the people in the session, I also tagged their companies. So I think we picked up a little bit of boost from that. So you can see what I'm doing here. I'm just trying to project, you know, what's going on in the community and helping others project what they do. People who win awards do really, really well on LinkedIn. So if you have a friend and they win an award, make sure you shake their hand and take a picture. So this is with my good friend Todd Mercer, who actually is our top volunteer in Ottawa. He chairs our Ottawa D365 customer engagement group, and he became an industry all-star winner at the conference in Orlando. And that's, you know, I think 3 people or 4 people globally got that award. So big deal. I finally caught up with him on the trade show floor when I was over at the Resco booth, and we shook hands, took a picture, and almost 7,000 people viewed it. Other things that do well, you know, Microsoft. Post something about Microsoft, and it becomes interesting because we're all in that Microsoft ecosystem, but sometimes we don't get to hear all the news. So I'll give you a little bit of secret. I use things like Google Alerts and tell them to track what's going on at Microsoft, Microsoft Dynamics 365, what's going on with Microsoft Canada. So every day I get a list of things that are going on in the news that I can post. That way I can put a post out at least, you know, once a day. I've always got something. If there's no conference happening, if I'm not teaching anything, no one's won an award, at least I can put something out about Microsoft. And our ecosystem loves to look at this, read about it, and share it. So here's 3,390 people who viewed this one. So back to awards. If you win internal awards at companies, if you know, you go to a conference and people get an award, people just love to view people who are getting awards. And it doesn't matter about the quality of the photo, I found out. So this is a photo that was taken by a photographer at our UG Summit, and there's Todd again collecting the award with Nick Dolman, Heidi, and Laura Mortrick. So they're all getting their awards, and that got 6,800. So this is an award they had for the hackathon at Extreme 365, much smaller venue, but I took that picture with my phone and it was pretty dark, so it didn't turn out that well. Even this one got 5,400. Here's the awards handed out at the Resco.next conference. Look at this, only 381 views. So let me just kind of let you know why this happened. When you share somebody else's content, LinkedIn shows it to a whole lot less people. They want you to be able, they want you to build content and send it out. So if I would have grabbed these photos like I grabbed this photo and taken the time to build my own post, this post that got 381, I think would have probably got 4,000 views. Except for I was at the conference and I was speaking and I was pretty busy that day. So I only had time to do a post like this. So you can see, so, you know, I'm posts about people who win awards do well, posts about Microsoft do well. And here's my all-time greatest post that is now trending. So forget about what I told you today, just post cartoons. So this is a cartoon that you'll find on my feed that has 5,700 and 800 views. That's 10 times what these award views saw. It's been shared by over, what do we got? 50 comments, 550 reactions. I think like 60 people have shared this cartoon so far. So if you really want to be famous on LinkedIn, just become a cartoonist and start sending out the cartoon. So I picked this cartoon off. Mark Verkos is the fellow who did it. So I gave him, you know, this is Mark's cartoon, and we put it up there. It did really well. What do I think about this cartoon? I think this helps me. It helps me influence. It goes out there. A lot of people that, you know, never liked things or viewed things or commented, mostly project management people, got excited about this cartoon. And it's a really good cartoon. But I don't know if it has the right influence that I want to be out there as a Dynamics 365 social selling expert and coach. So maybe a good idea for me is, you know, find a cartoonist and we'll start doing some funny posts about Dynamics 365, and you know, maybe we can do this on a regular basis. So what I'm saying here is that, you know, we can get out there and we can influence. I'll show you another thing that I like to do. Here is I have groups, so I can go in here under work, and you're going to see my groups. And I've got a couple of groups that I've started on LinkedIn. So for those that don't understand groups, it's almost where you create a private social feed. And the two that I'll talk about here, if you're a Microsoft Dynamics 365 partner, we started the Partner Success Group, and I've got about 4,500 people in that group. So as we click on it, you'll see it looks very much like my regular LinkedIn page. But everything we post in here, or I let partners post in here, has to do with, you know, successfully deploying Dynamics 365. So that all gets posted in here. So I can control. So if Sumit put something in here, I said, you know, Sumit, it's not, let's say you're recruiting, you're not really educating anybody. I can go in and delete it and tell him not to do that again, and kick him out of the group if I had to, but I wouldn't do that. Sumit's you know, putting in some good stuff here. So a group allows you sort of more control. So from a group perspective, you'll see that these are the groups that I'm an owner, but I can become members of groups. In our Dynamics world, there's hundreds of groups, lots of stuff that we can do, that we can join and we can influence, and we can add our content to other people's groups. So when you create your own group, and if you're a partner or consultant today, I'd like you to join my Microsoft Dynamics 365 Partner Success Group. If you're an end user customer, I've got one for Customer Engagement Success Group, which is for end user customers, which has about 4,700 people. So I find a way to engage with people, right? I influence people, and you know, we try to work them into a group, and you'll see everything I do is very, very educational and not salesy. And I think that's the key to all this, is to do stuff to educate people, help influence, help get the message out there, and not try to really hardcore sell to them. Okay, So I think we're kind of running out of time today. So the best place to get a hold of me is on LinkedIn. So if we're not LinkedIn yet, I see some invitations coming in already. Make sure you find Rick McCutcheon, Dynamics 365 CE CRM MVP. There's another Rick McCutcheon. He's like a massive bodybuilder. I know people make that mistake all the time, but no, this is the Rick McCutcheon you want. So Elena, I'm going to go back over to you and see if we have any questions we can answer.
Fantastic. I can't see any questions just yet, but feel free to add them to the message. But I have a couple, so maybe
okay.
I can
we'll
kick off the process. So, Rick, if you're a company and want to use LinkedIn successfully, would you advise the company's employees to be the ambassadors and use their own LinkedIn profiles to convey the company's messages and story and the culture and events, etc.? Or would you advise them to use the company LinkedIn page or combination of both?
Yeah, so it depends if you're a small company that may have a couple partners who run it and 10, 20 employees, the partners would become the evangelist. If you're a part of a big organization, a big corporation, then the corporate page needs to become sort of the evangelist page, and everybody would share the content off of that page. And that's not saying, the employees can't share their own content, right? Because they've got their own brand to take care of too. So, maybe my company, I do a lot of work with ClickLearn. So if you go look at their page, there's a lot of stuff about what's going on at ClickLearn, what they're doing at shows, webinars, and that type of thing. But if I'm a ClickLearn employee, that doesn't mean I can't go in and, if my territory that I'm taking care of is the UK, I'm going to be posting stuff about Microsoft and Dynamics in the UK, right? Because that's going to influence my marketplace. It's really not the ClickLearn news, but it's part of what my ecosystem wants to read about and listen to, or read or watch.
Okay, that's very interesting. And you also mentioned that the posts that you're sharing, so for example, if you're sharing a company's post, it would get less visibility than if you share your own post. So should the employees of the company then copy the pictures and share it as their own? Or do they still want to promote their company so more people join and follow the company? What would be the best practice?
Well, yeah, we want to build up the company page, and I think over time LinkedIn's going to sort that out, because it's corporations that are going to buy their advertising, right? So yeah. I think we're going to see we've got to see them work on the company pages next. They've done a good job with groups. Like Group was pretty much dead in the water, 12 months ago, and they rebuilt the group pages. So now we're actually getting some good contact in that through the group pages. So hopefully the corporate page is next. But today we kind of focused on your own personal profile, because a lot of the people, that are following, 365 Talent Portal, a lot of independent consultants. So if I'm an independent consultant, I am an independent consultant. So I put my videos and stuff up on my corporate page, because they'll be there all the time. It'll garner some SEO, but the stuff I want to talk about and promote, I kind of do it through my own profile.
Okay, that's very good. So we now have some questions. Okay. So Ambesh is asking, does LinkedIn help to achieve MVP?
I think it can't hurt. So this is always interesting. How do you become an MVP? Well, in my case, my work was recognized because I founded the user group community back in 2010, I'm going to say, in Canada. We had no user group community. I worked with Microsoft. I worked with Dynamics community in Florida, and we brought it here, and we've got, a dozen chapters across the country, and I'm still sort of, heavily involved in organizing it and promoting it and working with Microsoft. So, I do a lot of posting and that type of stuff in education. So that was sort of my claim to fame. I became sort of that well-known evangelist and was nominated. So I think it's important to get your name out there. Get your name out there and people see that you're doing good. See that you're, if you follow some of the MVPs on LinkedIn, a lot of them do a lot of Twitter too, you'll see that they're putting their blogs out there and they're blogging, but they're promoting the blog. And that's kind of the key, is to get more people to see your name all the time and more people to recognize it. And I think that works its way back to, Microsoft and those people that make that decision.
Excellent, thank you. Another question from your friend Ivan from Resco. Should we try to monetize our LinkedIn influence or not? What is the right approach?
So I get this from salespeople a lot, right? Somebody liked my LinkedIn profile or liked my post. I'm going to, try to pursue them, right? With, guns blazing. And I think I think we want it to be a longer influence. Like, we want to show people that we can help them. Of course, if you come across somebody and there's an opportunity, yes. Like, we could get deep into Sales Navigator. So for those who are in a sales position, Sales Navigator is fantastic, right? So if I was a salesperson, I would still keep my influence going on LinkedIn, but I may do more sort of that connecting and identifying opportunities in Sales Navigator. So I think our own profile needs to be, I want you to influence and become that expert that people trust, and then the sales will come.
Excellent. So I can't see any other questions. We have lots of thank yous. Great webinar. Thank you. There was one question whether we will share the presentation. Yes, we will. Nora, how are we going to do it? Email?
Yeah, so we'll send it out via email within a couple of days, and then the video will also be available on our YouTube channel, as well as on the website to watch on demand.
What about our LinkedIn channel?
And on our LinkedIn, of course.
So just, just on that last question about selling that Yvonne had, when I did the session last week, so what we're doing at the Innovation Factory is now these mentoring sessions. So I've been teaching there for a couple of years. So once a quarter, we come back and we say, if you want to come back and talk about what you're doing on LinkedIn as a group, let's do that. We had a mentoring session last week, and one of the fellows that took the LinkedIn training 6 months ago is now working on a $4.5 million global contract. And he says it was all done through LinkedIn, right? Finding the person, influencing the person, connecting to the right people. He said it was all done on LinkedIn. He never would have found this contract had he not been active on LinkedIn. So yeah, it helps.
Brilliant. Unless anyone has more questions, I think this is the end of the presentation. Thank you, Rick, so much. Really appreciate it. So again, everyone, you have Rick's contact. If you want to reach out to us as well, you can reach to Nora, who's invited you to the webinar, or to myself. Rick, this was very impressive. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Lena. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you out on LinkedIn.